All right, and welcome to another weekly live stream. This is 2 weeks since the last one because I had a musical to go to last week and was definitely not able to make this. So I'm looking forward to getting started tonight. Hopefully, you guys have a chance to join and chat and say hello. Thanks to my patrons. You guys are definitely helping me keep the faith here. It's been rough this past month or so because lots of life changes and so on, or not life changes, but life interruptions and things, stuff with school. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Tonight we're going to work on caves, I think. And I'm going to get, I don't want to move that, I want to move this. Oh, and yes, a reminder that up in the upper corner here is the address for where you can download the last release, which was in January. I'm shooting for another release in June. It remains to be seen what's going to be in there, but it's like kind of an anniversary tradition at this point, because that'll be like the 11th year anniversary since the last public release of the first engine. Let me go ahead and pop out my little thing here and we'll get started. So tonight what we're going to work on is caves. Actually, caves ends up working a lot like rivers, as it turns out. I was trying to see if I still had my slides, but let me bring up let's bring up a new window. We'll go to the whiteboard at least. I should really bookmark this. So, if you happen to be online, say hi, and maybe you guys chat amongst yourselves as well. I missed you guys. So, all right. So, so let's pretend this grid we see here are the tiles in a game, or let's just say they're chunks. And like a river, we have like lines and bodies of water, and what it does is it kind of calculates the distance from these to decide where the borders of the river are, and similarly calculates the distance from that water body to and you may have more of these that make it kind of like this. Caves work almost exactly like that, only instead of in 2D space they work in 3D space, and this was how old Mythruna did it. So you'd have like points in space, and it would around there define sort of a border of where the hard stop was, and then another border within which was definitely no rock, and then it would randomly determine if you had rock in this area, and so you'd get these sort of nice things. And if you end up making a lot of short caves with caverns and branches off in 3D, it ends up looking really nice, and various levels of randomness for this level too, whether anyway, there's all kinds of parameters you can randomize that make that cool, and it made some really good caves in Mythruna. It also allows you to do some cool stuff like because you're dealing with what I called influencers in the old style. Because you're dealing with distances from a point, you can do different kinds of math things. So let's say we're looking at a side view of this point, and we want everything within this radius, but we cut it off at some point. So it's like you could have like flat bottom caves, or you could have caves with inverted bottoms like this. You could do all kinds of weird stuff with the math, to make it kind of cooler depending on what effect you're going for. Eventually I want to have like some underground cities, and so it's going to be necessary to have lots of these big flat bottom caves to put the things in. I kind of want to give them some kind of texture in the bottom. We'll see how that works out, but for tonight we're just going to deal with, I hope, just points and lines. So you basically the round caverns and the caves. And what we're going to do to get that done is we're going to go back to our friend, we're going to go back to our friend Blockhead, although I'm really going to be modifying the world this time, so we won't be able to just keep rerunning it in Blockhead like we did for the dungeons. Although I will mention that real quickly, real quick sidetrack. We'll see if I can keep it less than 5 minutes. I did play with the dungeons, and so you've got. I was playing with room decoration and room lighting, and so we've got. Let's see. Can I just? Oh, can I just slide into the side of one of these? Nope. Yeah, so I have like different kinds of room lighting in here. In this case, if the wall is really long, at the 25% point and the 75% point, it'll put this little flame. And if the wall's really short, at the 50% point, it'll put a little flame above there, which kind of turns out cool if there's a door. But it kind of creates some dramatic lighting, which is kind of neat. And so I have like sconces and things that I'll... Oh, I found the stairs right away. I have sconces and things that I'll play with, and I also made some grates, that I'll put some lighting under the floor and through some grates and things. So that'll be kind of cool. But that's not what we're here for. What we're here for, is to... I think I have the world generator set up at a place that's decent to put some caves. Morning, Romcram. Is it morning for you where you are? Or are you being humorous? So if we do this, hold on. It's coming. That's the thing about the world gen. Just takes a little bit. So, come on. It's taking a bit longer than I expected, actually. Yeah, so I have this area which I knew from testing the farms, and I think I'm going to go ahead and increase the configured distance. But it's a relatively small area, but it's got like deep ground underneath it, so it'll be a good place to test caves. It's got a decent slope, so if we started, within this area, I was basically gonna test, like a point and a line and a point and a line in a square like this, and have one of those be above the ground so we can kind of see it carve under the ground. And by doing it in blockhead first, I'm able to concentrate on, the chunk edits and not the whole map edits, because that gets a little complicated. Rivers, on the the larger scale far terrain map will always carve through, whereas caves, will only carve through where they hit the surface, and there's some extra math involved to determine that. Whereas this math is relatively straightforward in the sense that it's just 3D distances to point, distance to line kind of stuff. So we'll be popping in and out of here and re-rendering that, and so that I don't have to constantly zoom out all the time, I think I'm gonna set farther camera distance. Let's just check and see what that looks like. I had it set a little closer for the dungeon because I got tired of flying in all the time. So, alright, yeah, so we're nice and far away. Oh, yeah. It's an old bug. Okay. Alright, so let's get started. How this works is, let's pull up this again. So a 32 by 30, 1024 by 1024, which happens to be 32 by 32 chunks, by the way, of the world is, sort of what Mythruna calls a tile. And so most of the stuff is based on tiles, and we won't be any different today because the sedectile part, which is like 16 of these by 16 of these, which is what the map ed tool deals in, that hasn't been integrated into the engine yet, and I'm kind of integrating from the bottom up. Like we're working on the chunks, and then within the chunks you have the tile, and within the tile you have the sedectile, and the world engine doesn't know about the engine world doesn't know about sedectiles yet. And I'm going to do caves as a way of getting into sedectiles, because caves will span tiles at some point at any rate. And so the initial integration we're going to have to do is starting from World Manager. We can see that I register these different tile functions, which currently I've hacked in these things from the rivers and the ponds and the roads from Map Editor, but caves will be real, and we'll do those I think before the rivers. And so what we'll have is like something like this: tile manager, add tile function, and new, what do we call it? Let's just call it the cave tile function. And it doesn't need anything, it just is what it is. 3 a.m. Took a long time to chat or tap back. All right, so now I have to write that cave function, right? And we won't worry about storage yet because we're just going to be running in blockhead, so we don't need to worry too much about the protocols for storing and loading. Is it even longer than usual? I thought so. Seemed like it. Okay, so we will steal. I'm going to heavy cut and paste code just to save time. Because the caves are going to be so similar to rivers, I'm going to steal a lot of the river stuff. And I think I've already started I haven't even built the package yet. Okay, so we'll make a package called Cave. Not Dave. Dave's my buddy. Cave is... I believe everybody knows someone named Dave. I'm gonna guess that if you said, "Hey, my buddy Dave," everybody would say, "I have a buddy Dave." In fact, I have 2 at least buddies named Dave. Anyway, what was I saying? Cave tile function .java, and this is what we're gonna make it look like. Oh, good, the date's already correct. Cave. Playing around with caves. Nope, this is the tile function for caves. So we go to this. And what we'll do is we'll hard code. Let's see. Let's call it point. I struggle with the naming here. It's really a field. You know what? I'm going to steal the name that old Mythruna used. Point influencer. And eventually I may port this back to the open source side, but right now it's Mythruna specific. Oh, world.cave. I probably could have cut and pasted. Yeah, let's just do this. So we'll start with cave tile function. We will move point influencer. Oops, got an extra. Move this stuff up. And we don't need that. We do need extends abstract morphology. Okay, so let me talk about what we did. Point. Okay, well, it's good enough for now. Good enough description for now. Actually, this is, yeah, okay, this is good enough. Okay. We need just a point. Interior. Let's call it radius 1 and radius 2. I need more specific. Or inner radius, outer radius. Okay. Let's see, everywhere it says river section, I think there's only one. Point influencer. Yeah, okay. So have any of you done anything cool this week? Any productive, especially productive things going on in your life? Any of you are on, I think there's, yeah, just one concurrent viewer, so I think it's just you, Romcram, if you're still on. Either that or YouTube is lying to me, which has happened many times before. I usually expect at least Oakster to join. Alright, so... And it will be Good Bean citizens. Yes, this is like the first week I had a moment to breathe. So, for the moment, I think that, well, we're going to have to say it affects columns, and we're going to have to, okay, so blah, 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 blah. Yeah, bounding box is definitely still sufficient here. The point.x, we don't need to do this. We can just say point.x minus influence minus outer radius. And just so the math looks cleaner, I'll put that in parentheses. Even though it matters not. Oops. And these will be plus. What we're building here is the 2D bounding box of the entire area, because even though we're not going to deal with tiles right now, this is used to detect which chunks even should be affected, I believe. You're going to get special crap. Okay, so yep. So we make sure we're still within the tile bounds, and and then we do this, which is clamping it, make sure we're not scooching out, and then we go through every column. It's interesting. We just basically go through every one, and we don't. Oh, we're checking this particular point influencer. Does it? Yeah. Okay. Right. Does it intersect that column? If it does, there's definitely more efficient ways of doing this. I should put a fix me. Well, okay. At some point, I'm going to have to do a sweep to do performance improvements. I think I'm still going to need clamp and mix and smooth step. And definitely going to need intersects. And this is just point.clone. I could have just done actually subtract. Again, we're still building the bounding box again. Sorry this is taking so long. I'm trying to, when I'm not doing this stuff, finish up that dungeon work. Oops. Handling on there for a second. Finish up that dungeon work enough to make a video, which is why I had the lights and stuff, because I want to make a, yes, that is really long delay, if that's really how long it takes to respond. Yeah, that's really strange. I didn't set the chat up I didn't set the stream up any differently than normal. Yeah. I'm really sorry about that. It's blame YouTube, right? We'll have to blame YouTube. That's unfortunate, because like the last one that we actually had people join, it was really nice. I thought we had a pretty decent conversation going. It's unfortunate that doesn't work here. Okay, so I think we've got. We need a little bit more boilerplate. I actually don't think this is used the so this is a morphology. Let's look and see what morphology requires. I may have already implemented too much. Get affected columns, morph and morph. Okay, so oops, get affected columns, which I did. We didn't really need intersects, but that will come in handy later. I'm just going to comment this out for now because it's not part of the contract, and I'm going to make sure that everything that is part, okay, it is, okay, good. So now we can get to the meat, and for now, I'm going to nuke this because that's what morphs a tile. Basically, it applies itself by carving terrain out and changing terrain types. And this is what morphs the, quote-unquote chunks, as Minecraft will call them. Mythruna calls them columns. Or, yeah. Actually, a column data is the equivalent of a chunk, but in Mythruna it's divided up into leafs, which are 32 by 32 by 32 stacked on top of each other into a column. And so now we can get to the actual code, but I think I'm going to leave the river. See, I think just replace everything that says. Okay, I'm going to have to do some minimal stuff here because if we were doing the line influencer, I could just steal river directly, but we're not. So I do actually have to. Don't think we need Y start or Y. We don't need dir, we don't need length, we don't need none of that stuff. At the moment we don't need fluid. We do want a local start, a local point, which is our point minus the origin of the tile, of the column. And we are in 3D space, so we don't want to do that. And the radius, we have inner and outer radius already, so and now we actually need X, Y, and Z. So what we're doing is we're building, the piecemeal vector, the line between, the particular block we're checking and the point. So if you imagine, we've got a 3D cube in space and we're chopping that up, and each little block we're saying, should this block be solid or should this block be empty? For all of those little 32 by 32 blocks. And so we're basically iterating over all those and calculating their distance, and that's so this is the issue. Y is inside, so we can't calculate that here. There's going to be another loop that loops over Y. And actually, if we find out that we're outside of the radius, even with just XREL and ZREL, then we can stop. And we don't need that. We want double D squared equals, first we're going to do XREL times XREL plus ZREL times ZREL, and leave a comment if the block, we'll call it cell, right? If the cell is outside of even a 2D distance, then it will always be unmodified. Okay. Alright, so we don't need this because we're not doing projections. We've already got our D squared. And this is outer radius times outer radius, which I should pre-calculate, but I will not for now. And we don't need all that raw river level stuff. But what we could do, it's if you think about from the side view, and we've found that we're inside the radius here, you know, so say this is X and this is Y. And you know, we found we're inside the sphere. It is actually possible to calculate where this is and where this is. But that's more math than I want to do on a live stream, so we're going to do it the slow way, and we're just going to iterate over all this stuff and calculate it. And I will go back and fix it later. It gets even weirder for the line influencer. It's definitely possible to do the math, but we could. It's never going to be lower than the you know, the outer radius, and it's never going to be higher than that outer radius. So we can bound it. There's also all this crap I get to get rid of right here. I'm keeping it for a second because I want the get rid of that, and we gotta fix this. While I'm thinking about it, let me go and fix my toString. Because I'm also thinking about something else at the same time. So your brain goes on autopilot for this kind of stuff, and you can use that time to think about what's next. And I'm trying to figure out where we do we don't actually. Because rivers, we already know exactly their level. We don't have to iterate over y, but in here we do, and so we'll say y equals y min, y less than equal y max, y plus plus, right? And so in here we got to figure out which layer we're on. Hey Ron, how's it going? Thanks for joining the party. So we've got the layer, which is... Wait, what is base level? Yeah, see, none of that stuff applies here. See, there's a more efficient way of doing this, but again, in the interest of coding time, we're already halfway through and I haven't shown anything on anything. So this is figuring out which leaf we're going to be messing with. And it's funny because it's not fluid data that we're interested in, it's leaf data, but I know why. Because the river relies on the tile to have already carved the ground, and we're carving the ground. We're carving out of solid rock potentially. So we've got the leaf, and then within a leaf, within a leaf we don't so we need a int. So there's a convention I use in Mythruna where if you're dealing in world coordinates or tile coordinates, you've got x, y, z. But if you're dealing inside of a particular leaf data, then it's always I, j, k, which is 0 to 32. And by having that convention, if I see that I've pulled j out of my butt here, then I know, so that I know what I've done here. I know what j is supposed to do. X and so these really should up here have been I and k if I wanted to follow my convention, but I'm not going to go change it now. just for you guys because I'm already wasting time. So leaf. So we're not going to worry about inner radius and outer radius, just outer radius at the moment. In fact, we're just going to block out the whole circle as a big cylinder instead of, just to get the math simple. X, J, Z, 0. So we're going to, if you imagine from the side view again, I'm kind of ignoring these borders here and I'm just chopping it off flat at the top and the bottom to make a big cylinder, which we'll be able to see that it does something and get all the other stuff finished. So I don't need any of this stuff, although yeah, so we do want to keep track of, okay, it's changed equals true. We already got it changed. Okay, so point influencer is, you can't see me making the little scare quotes with my fingers, quote unquote, done. And we can get on with the rest of our lives here. We're going to make again, just sample data. Points equals new array list. Just hard coding some sample data for the moment. We don't need any of this crap. Correct, we don't need any of that crap. Yeah, because that's not even indexing it. So, in fact, we're not going to fill this in at all until we're called. And oh man, I had like 3 thoughts at once there and one of them disappeared. Hey Ron, if you happen to notice that your chat delay is also super long, that would be interesting to know. Rom Cram was saying that it's taking several minutes this time, and that's unfortunate. So let me think. So we accept the tile. Oh, I know what I was going to do. I was going to look over and see what area of the world I'm looking at over here. So this is what our home is. I tell you what, during my day job, yeah, I know what I did this for, because this is global. This is the whole world. In my day job, I've started using an IDE on this new code that I'm working on because it's just an easy way to get around. And one of the hidden things that I really like is that I can just open a Groovy shell and just type Java code, and that's super convenient. So let's add, let's see, how does, and whereas I have like JShell, or not JShell, I have a Groovy shell usually set up down here. I think I can, or Groovy? Nope, apparently not. On my work computer I definitely did, my other work computer. What was I going to do? Okay, I was going to look at WorldGen. Yeah, so it's dividing x size, y size by 2, so it is the center. So about 36, that's normal. That's normal for you. Well, that's fortunate. All right, so I think maybe RomCram has that extra bad connection, unfortunately. Okay, so this was the center, and we will go ahead and make just one big points dot up. Vec3i center equals it's like in my live stream we're testing YouTube. That's funny. Okay, so center points dot add new point influencer. And for now we'll just make it center and we'll make it big, 40 by 40 or 40, yeah, 40 and 43. We're not using the inner radius yet. Oh. So let's make this 40 and this one 38. Oh, nice. Oh, okay, cool. I mean, 30-second delay is bad enough. So when it's like really bad, it sucks. Because I'm creating all of these log jams for myself. Because ooh, crap. Yeah, it still sucks. It definitely does. I wish it was like more like real-time chat. It would be so much more fun. I don't know if Twitch is any better for that. Equals. Maybe. I don't know if any of you have done live streaming before. I may have to do some... Oh, so here's something I wanted to put to the community. And if any of you who've made it this far through the video who are not watching it live. So for my oldest child, Diana, I've been working on some coding things. We've been making a simple game. It's going to be like a 2D, you know, no scrolling, just super simple. You know, I've written like a screen class and a keyboard class, and then everything else is game logic. And like the screen class has just some simple methods for drawing sprites on the screen. And then so all the game logic is straightforward. Even like you can code an update loop, hand code the input handling and stuff, because I'm just trying to teach her how to build up a program from the bottom up. She's taken a couple college classes, and some of it sinks in and some of it's a little tougher. So I thought a simple game like some kind of like 2D, like Mythruna, if it was top down and no 3D, just trees and stuff, and you could chop down trees and kill things. And anyway, I've been thinking I might do if there is enough interest, I could potentially turn it into a short video series with some code up on GitHub that people could pull down for each chapter or something. Yeah, so that took up too much concentration because I should have been writing stuff. So if there's interest in that, let me know. Zero cover radius. So this is a method used internally just to make sure that I don't add the thing to it. It's just like for the sample code. Since I've got this one giant global list, and tile function is for creating single tiles, I use this to decide if that particular thing, in this case a point influencer, even intersects the tile. So I don't bother wasting calculations, you know, calculating stuff for... I could technically add this point influencer at every tile, but then it's just doing extra work for a tile that it will never intersect. So, okay, so we don't already have a morphology label. We create one, and then we will go through all of our point influencers. Should be compiled. Oh, did Option Studio die? That's interesting. So Ops said it just reconnected. So maybe you guys lost me for a minute. Yeah. Yeah, tell me what you missed. Hopefully you guys are still around. All right. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, so I wonder if there's something wrong with my internet connection, or maybe my oldest is downstairs downloading things on Steam or something. I have 100 megabit or whatever down pipe, but that doesn't help if this is all up. So 25 up, which should be decent, but sometimes I don't really get that. Okay. So if we've done everything correctly, we ought to be able to see a cylinder in the ground. If I go to this world gen, execute script, I'll look for new bugs that may or may not have appeared here. So anyway, while that's loading, let me pull up. So do this. Okay, knows me, and no, it's not Mythruna code I want. It's this Simplecraft game, which I've called Simplecraft. I was going to show you, like, I have a little test game, or it's not even really a game. So there's just two classes for my, mini game engine that actually just uses Java Swing, and then this little app that tests it, which it basically creates the screen of certain tile size. It's all tile based, and then sets some tile images for the world, and then just runs through here and draws some tiles, draws a sprite at the current player location, draws some text, and then grabs some input from the keyboard and uses that to move your XYZ. So this is just a simple test to show that the API is working. The actual game we've started coding actually has game objects and stuff like that, and this is just kind of to test the screen and the keyboard classes. But if you all are interested in if anybody is interested in a video series on that, just comment on the video. I would have fun putting that together, but it would be a lot of time. Okay, so apparently we did not. All right, let's move in. Apparently things did not work. But we will duck under the ground just to make sure. Yep, they did indeed not work. Okay. But the one thing that's nice about this is it's a lot easier to debug when we're in here. So like we can first see, are we even getting to morph? That kind of thing. Did we return good affected columns? Actually, we can go. So I've heard from others that they kind of like the drama of solving the bug together. I think that's kind of funny. And fun. I mean, that's what coding's all about, right? So we're just going to do some bulk debugging, see if these lines are even called. In fact, I will put big stars on them so that we will see them over all the other output, and this should get called. We say we modify things. It could just be something dumb I've forgotten to do. And so that'll be step 1. And just in case we even get into here, we'll do d squared, and this will make it really obvious that because this will be a lot of output if it comes. Okay, so actually we shouldn't even have to recompile separately. Just that's the nice thing about having blockhead embedded right into this, right into the game. All right, let's go here, scroll down, and we watch our output to see if we see our big things go by. I think there are two problems. One is a indeed stupid problem. The other, I think, is a different kind of stupid problem. Let me just verify that the river tile, let me just make sure I've added it everywhere it's supposed to get added. Yep, okay. So the problem is, I think that the script that I've added to blockhead doesn't, the WorldGen script doesn't use world manager. It creates its own, so it's basically not adding that function. We need to manually add it up here. So this is the worldgen.groovy script that I'm running in blockhead, and instead of calling world manager to generate a world, it generates one directly because it does everything in memory and doesn't bother to write things to disk and stuff. So so we had to add it here, or we were never going to see it. Now we should see a ton of debug output, and it should actually work. And I thought the second problem was that I had to register that function in two places, once for the tiles and once for the you know, leaves or chunks or whatever. But no, it's not, just one. Okay, so see, we're getting errors now. Oh yeah, of course we are. This is something I can fix in here. Just cave. Okay, so we just get to run it again without a recompile. Okay. So I'm curious which of my viewers are coders and which are just interested in the game. You know, if you are on the chat and you are a coder, even, you know, at the amateur level, you know, speak up. If you're just watching this on YouTube, comment. Let me know if you're a developer or game developer. It'd be interesting to know who on the viewership. Okay, so we did get a bunch of output. And did we get a so let's go look at our output, because it should, we got a bunch of those d squared. Oh, outer radius is 0. So I've 100% screwed something up somewhere in the most stupidest way possible, I'm sure. Inner radius, out radius. See, look at that, outer radius. So we were setting, probably if I had lint turned on, it would have told me, hey, you know, you're setting the same value to the same value. Now it's actually setting it to the new value, and we all, and by we all I mean me, feel a little dumb. We move on with our lives. This would not be the stupidest thing I do in the next 24 hours, because that's the way coding works. Used to say it was the definition of programming was an activity similar to beating one's head against the wall, but not as satisfying. Software dev, yep, exactly. Look at that go. Boy, oh boy. It's a lot of output. So we should have a big giant cylinder. Ooh, yeah. Oh, interesting. This is not unexpected. The fact that you know, the farm's still plotted is because they're looking at the tile map and we didn't actually modify the tile map. But this is unexpected that we've got this guy. Huh. And each of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this is about 40 blocks. So I would have expected it to be entirely within this area. Yeah, so all of those should have projected it. Cool. Yeah, it's all fun stuff. Um, I was telling somebody that Mythruna development at this point, with you guys, keeping me on task every week, um, I get some of the same pleasure out of doing Mythruna as I do playing games. Where I used to sink myself into something like Skyrim, and play all day and all night, and for weeks at a time, and I get a lot of that same itch. Um, oh, nice Tableau. Um, I get a lot of that same itch from Mythruna these days. Yeah, so look at that. Something in how I'm calculating the distance is very strange because we're only carving out, yeah, it's like each corner is doing something stranger. Okay, so let's make a smaller radius. Let's do 8 and 10 just to put it in something more manageable. So, I mean, with heavily cut and pasted, Python is cool. I actually had never used Python. I could read it, but when the introduction to algorithms was done in Python, and so I learned a lot of stuff. I thought Python was probably kind of a weird language to teach algorithms. There was just so much of the class that was, or so much of the learning material that was like Python specific features that you can take advantage of that don't translate to other languages. A lot of the list stuff that might translate to some JavaScript, but yeah, so see, we've lost it completely now. Oh no, it's underground. Oh yeah, because the radius. Yeah. Yeah, so see, we've got some weird inversion thing going on here. So we've got basically there's a big circle out here somewhere, and there's a big circle out here somewhere, and Alright, so let's see. Anyway, that was my frustration with Python, is I thought it was teaching some things that weren't going to be useful in the immediate next class. Now, fortunately, the next class taught Java, and so fortunately, said student had forgotten most of the stuff they'd learned from Python, and so it was not an issue. But Java has none of that fancy stuff. So we appear to be adding the point influencer to the correct place. I believe we are getting the affected columns correctly. Let's see if it even had that out there. Morph. We're morphing. So we're crossing a tile boundary, which is probably why we get that weirdness depending on a tile. I suppose I could force this into one tile. For the moment, I'm going to make y min equals 0 and y max be 400. This will really slow things down, unfortunately, but that'll make sure it always carves through the terrain. And so let me just check my math here. Distance squared. Oh, here we go. Again, stupid mistakes. Okay, so I'm going to put this back because we're pretty close to being okay. Although I don't know why it didn't pop up above the... Yeah, I do. Okay, so let's make a bigger cave again. We'll do 18 and 20 this time. Okay. Yeah, so again, it was a stupid typo. Spend my life hunting down stupid typos. And this is not even the kind of typo that an IDE would have helped me with. It's just bad math because of Z instead of an X, or X instead of Z. Scripts. Doink, doink, doink. But yeah, I envisioned sort of the programming one as being like a series of short 10-minute videos if I did it, which implies a lot. I don't have to edit these at all. Whereas if I was gonna keep chapters down to 10 minutes, first would be installing and setting up the ID and starting your project. Maybe using UML to create some initial classes to kind of like work out. Okay, so we're getting closer. That's still not right. Oh, it's right down there. Okay, yes, that is right. Yay! Okay, so it's not a sphere yet, but we're getting there. Okay, so let's turn that into a sphere, because we know it pops up a little bit above the terrain. We're good. But anyway, yeah, if I was going to do like a bunch of short 10-minute videos, I would have to script them and edit them, and that takes some time. And machine learning, so yeah, Python and R are hot. Yeah, I used to do a lot of SQL back in the day, and then for some personal projects, I was looking at MongoDB for a while, which I really liked, and no SQL database, and you can just throw whatever you want in there, and it's really efficient at bringing it back. It was really cool. So I highly recommend MongoDB. It's really neat. Are they? Cool. You haven't done any AI stuff, in the grander scheme or any of the that stuff. And the last time I did AI stuff was expert systems and fuzzy logic, that kind of thing, which it's directly applicable. Can't speak to video games on some level. Okay, so let's fix. So we're gonna do double yrel equals y minus local point dot y. Okay, so now we know we can calculate the real distance from our point, and we're going to be very careful to type these values correctly. And we're right at the 1 minute mark, so now in this loop we can say if you are greater than this, bail. Do another pass. And so then now we should only be, probably get rid of this. Oh, I gotta restart this guy. Okay, so now we should only be building a sphere. And that may be where we stop, and I'll continue next time. And hopefully I'll have more of the Sedectile infrastructure built, but this stuff will continue where it left off. I kind of hope to do lines, but maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. So it's going to do its thing. Yeah, see those farms. And I got to go back and modify the 2D tile map as well. When it cuts through, that way we won't get farms hovering over the cave. This one might be completely underground this time. Does it peek through? It does not, but if you look under here, we've got a so we ought to be able to drill through the so let's go down there, see if we can check out our cave. I don't think my physics is set up to, oh yeah, there it is. Yeah. So we're in a cave. I don't think, does it? Oh yeah. Okay, cool. So, there's no bottom because the ground wasn't thick enough to support it, but I can drop some lights. And let's use magic white. The classic Mythruna light, in fact. That was the very first light Mythruna ever had. Was this white magic light. That was because original Mythruna did not have colored lights at all. That was in the second version of the engine, which was never released publicly. So yeah, we've got this rounded cave, and we'll do something similar with lines. you know, the as I talked about before, with a point, you know, any where you want to check the distance to a point is really simple, right? We've, you know, the distance to a cave is a little. That's a point to line segment distance, and river is already doing that in 2 dimensions, and it's just adding a 3rd dimension. So similar to this, but point to line segment, which is a little bit more complicated math, which I could explain if you guys cared about that, but we kind of ran out of time. So, but anyway, we've got a cave, and it's just, you know, kind of boring. Let's make it. What I should have done is made it so that I could add caves from the script. So let's do this before we leave. Let's make a couple caves next to each other, and I'm gonna put this one up higher. And we will add a couple. I'm going to show you how this is effective. Let's see. Where do I want to put this? I want to put less than. Let's put it at 15. And we'll make this a smaller one. And we'll do this for this one too, and this will make minus 15. So this will create kind of a, what I've done is I've taken, you know, if there's one cave here that's like 20 radius, I should have put 2 10 radius ones either side, so we get kind of a, not quite Mickey Mouse ears, but so we can see that multiple caves are working, and it'll look more cave-like, and we'll be able to get inside of it, and hopefully it'll be small enough to have a bottom. Actually, it might peek out from the surface, which makes kind of a canyon. Blah, 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 blah. One more render. If there are any last-minute questions while I do this, because it's going to take a second to render it. Morph, morph, morph. Morph, morph, morph. Yeah, there's basically 2 types of modifications. There's the morphology and the inserts. And the morphology is what can modify the terrain. Oh yes, look, we got our little cutout there. Nice. And inserts are what do those buildings. So just different ways of doing the same thing. So anyway, we've got this nice little cave, but you can see how if you just we're not even randomizing the surface at this point, and just with those 2 little bump out caves, if you start generating them together, they already start to look very cave-like, and just part of the block nature of the world. Even without any roughness, it's already kind of rough. And so if you imagine if we had, you know, 1 layer of blocks where it would randomly decide to keep or throw away a block, and suddenly the edges become almost indistinguishable. But hopefully, I think we'll do that next time, because I've got plenty of work to do in the week. And so next week, I'll continue caves right where we left off. Literally, I may clean up the code a little bit, but I'm going to leave it right here. And so we'll start doing tunnels, which will be the lines to go with our points, and then rough up the sides a little bit. And what I want to do that Mythruna never did is I want to randomly add things like this, you know, on the tops and the bottoms, you know, the stalactites and stalagmites and things. I just think it would be cool if there was, you know, some, oops, yeah, anyway, you get the idea. Some little variations in the caves, and you know, if you put one on the bottom, you got to put one on the ceiling, that kind of thing. I just think it would, see, wouldn't that look cool? Just every now and then have those things, perhaps even like some stacked up. Anyway, all right, guys, thanks a lot. I'm going to go ahead and start shutting the stream down by, where's my thing? Oh yeah, I have it off the screen. So, I'm going to go ahead and say thanks for joining. Please comment, like, and subscribe. I think it would be cool to get it to 1,000 subscribers by my birthday, which is the end of July. So if you know some friends that would want to subscribe, and if you haven't already subscribed to my video channel, please do, my YouTube channel. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week or online during the week. If you're on Discord, feel free to say hi. Thanks for joining, and have a productive week.